coming at you from the Hey Yo Studios. It's the Fade Route with D and Z. Here are your hosts, D and Z.
Coming at you live from the Ayo Studio.
Hey Yo.
It's the Fade Route with D and Z. I am D, and we've got a great show for you tonight. Adrian Griffin gets fired, Maurer gets in the Hall of Fame, and Joel Embiid drops 70. We'll begin today's show with breaking news as Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh is not going back to Michigan. He's actually going to, drumroll please, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Dun, 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 dun.
Gotta thank my coworker who will be buying me Greek truck this week because I told him that was going to happen and he was in total disbelief. Thanks, Vin. So, does this move make the Chargers a contender in the AFC West? And what does this do for Michigan?
Well, a Michigan man is leaving Michigan to go to San Diego, where he was a San Diego Charger.
Hello, LA.
And he has no ties to the LA Chargers. He's a San Diego Charger.
Oh.
So he was a Charger. So there is a little bit of a homecoming there. Granted, it's now SoFi and it is LA, but Jim Harbaugh is a quarterback at heart. He knows how to coach quarterbacks. And he's got a stud of a quarterback in Justin Herbert there. The question is, what's going to be there around Justin Herbert? Eckler's a free agent. Keenan Allen's a free agent. Pretty much everybody not named Joey Bosa and Justin Herbert. That's going to be an issue. Like, how are you going to make this work?
They must have a plan.
They have to. Well, they fired Telesco. Telesco is going to he's going to be the GM of the Raiders. So there's something,
because
there has to be something in the works.
Yeah, you don't land Harbaugh without a plan.
Yes.
And that's what that's what all these meetings are going on. Belichick met for a second time with the Falcons. I think Harbaugh also met a second time with the Falcons. But it's all about, okay, guys, what's the plan? I'm going to come coach here, but what's the plan? Who are we getting? Who are we targeting in the draft? What's our projections for the next 5 years?
He actually canceled his interview today because they wouldn't let him out of the building. So I guess he liked what he heard.
That's great.
As far as what is available and what can you do, I mean, you want to have a guy on your team, on your coaching staff, that is a competent defensive coordinator. Miami just let go of Vic Fangio.
He's trash. That was the guy that said, I can stop Patrick Mahomes. So the Eagles hired him for a day or a week or 2 weeks. He couldn't stop Patrick Mahomes.
Nick Sirianni's kind of a cool putt anyway. So, that guy, we can talk about him too. We'll talk about legend superstar Nick later. But, Vic Fangio, you don't get 37 years in the league by being a nothing. So, there's definitely something there.
No, how about your coach? How about your coach that you list?
Wink?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's who I want coaching my defense.
That would be very interesting from a personality standpoint because they are so similar that I think it would be Dayball Wink 2.0.
When you look at the way the Giants played in that last game against Philadelphia, man, for a team that was out of it, that defense was all over the Eagles.
Oh, yeah, Wink is definitely – he knows what he's doing. And, I mean, he's your guy. He was a Raven for years. Yep. So, you know what he brought to the table. You know his intangibles. Exactly. So, I mean, Coach Harbaugh has the cred, right? He took a team to the Super Bowl. Didn't win it. Took them there, right? 13-3, 11-4, 12-4, 8-8 his last year. There's plenty there. Now, the rep he gets is that he's a pusher, right? He's very much in the same way that Bill Belichick is a pusher. And he will run you into the ground. He will run the organization into the ground. He will burn himself out. He will burn all the bridges and then leave. Like that's kind of his rep. Now they signed him for a 5-year deal. You bring him in, and you are essentially saying, like, we believe that you are the quarterback whisperer. We believe that you can take Justin Herbert from here at point A to here at point B. The way you took Colin Kaepernick from Alex Smith's backup to here, right? To a starter in the Super Bowl. Like, that you can do these things. And he has the track record of doing it, but he has all this baggage. And he's already he's already like the little brother in LA. Right? Say what you will about the Chargers. The Chargers are not the primary attraction there. It's the Rams. The Chargers, yeah, they have their fans. But primarily, again, they were the San Diego Superchargers. People aren't driving 2-3 hours. Most people aren't driving 2-3 hours to go to this game and drive 2-3 hours back. So you got to put some asses in the seats, and how do you do it? Harbaugh definitely will do that just because he's got some sizzle, right? He rejuvenated San Francisco when it was in the wilderness. But it's costly. It's definitely costly. And I don't know if this organization is willing to pay that cost, because they haven't been willing to pay the cost at all in the past.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the move. I think this was the better job to get. I mean, if you're telling me I have a choice between going to Atlanta or going to LA, I want to go to the place that has the quarterback. I understand you're saying some key positions may not be returning, but let's get real. I mean, I've never been an Austin Eckler guy. I think Keenan Allen's pretty good, but he's getting up there in age. And Justin Herbert's a stud. And he was able to win games with Kaepernick, who couldn't get a job after he left. He's able to develop schemes and offenses that work. The only problem is you got to deal with Patrick Mahomes. And the way I look at it is like, he's got a 5-year deal, and if it doesn't work after 3 years or 4 years, or even 5 years, I think we both can agree the next move is he's going to go to Chicago, and he's going to be coaching either Justin Fields, or he's going to be coaching Caleb Williams. And that's just facts. And then if that job's not there, I know Ohio State would take him, but he probably won't go there. But then again, we'll have to see how Alabama's doing, because I'm sure he would go to Alabama. So there's jobs for him. You know, my whole thing, though, when I was talking to my coworker at work, is like, he's won the national championship. There's nothing left for him to do in college. I've won the national championship. I'm good. I'm good. College is going to be such a hard thing to navigate now because of the NILs. Like, you're just going to lose players. Like, players that don't play are going to enter the portal, and you're never going to be able to, like, get a guy as a redshirt or get a guy as a freshman and develop him, because he's going to be like, you didn't play me enough. I came here to play, and that's just the way it's going to be now. Or I want more money, or I need XYZ. And he don't want to deal with that. And his brother's on the cusp of possibly winning his second Super Bowl. You can't be sitting at the table with college rings while your brother has, Super Bowl rings. It's not going to work. As far as Michigan, I think Michigan's going to be fine. I mean, they'll find a way. Michigan's a big time program. They find a way to get players. They find a way to be successful. Everybody's going to have a chance now with 12 teams getting into the college playoff. So I think Michigan will be fine.
Michigan will absolutely be fine. I'm not concerned about that. They'll definitely, like you said, he checked off all the boxes. Right? He won the national championship, right?
At his alma mater.
Bingo. Was the only place up, right?
Yeah, right.
Elsewhere, and then the call of Michigan.
Yeah.
He was
I did it. I beat Ohio State. I won the Big Ten championship. I won the national championship. Thank you and good night.
but you're absolutely right. Like, this Charger job is very much so a stepping stone to the Bears. Because I think he sees himself more as a Bear than he does as a Colt or as a Charger.
I think he just sees it as, I have a way out. Like, if it doesn't work, if it doesn't work out here, it's not that big of a deal.
And I think he also has a little bit. He could always go to TV too. I think he would actually be very insightful on TV. But
he's a coach. He's a coach. He's a real coach. He really is. And the fact that he's had success at both levels speaks volumes. I mean, you could say what you want about Nick Saban, but Nick Saban ain't Pete Carroll, and Nick Saban ain't Jim Harbaugh. And that's just the truth. But moving on, that was breaking news. But to start the way we wanted to start the show, the defending champs went into Buffalo and beat Josh Allen and the Bills 24-27. I think everyone thought this would be Buffalo's year, including you, with no Burrow and a home game against the Chiefs and Mahomes. But everyone was wrong. Allen, and here's the thing, Z. Allen didn't turn over the ball. The Bills ran for over 180 yards, and they still lost. So, Z, what do the Bills need to do to get past the Chiefs in the playoffs?
Actually stick to the game plan. Right? What worked? Run it down their throat. Run the goddamn ball. Run the fucking football.
It didn't even matter if Chris Jones was on the field. You were still moving the ball.
God damn it. Run the goddamn football. Like, I don't understand. Why are they allergic to it? And run it with somebody besides Josh Allen, James Cook, 18 for 61. Like, Ty Johnson was moving the ball on 7 carries for 40 yards. They had it. They had it. And to me, it boils down to the desperation 4th down play call with, running the fake punt with DeMar Hamlin. They happened, it ended up being no harm, no foul because they fumbled out of the end zone. The Chiefs fumbled it out of the end zone for the touchback. And, the Bills got it back. And you're in position, man. Ice the game out. Ice the game out. That's what you're trying to do, right? You're grinding the clock down. Like, that's what McDermott was doing. And all of a sudden, he starts chucking it 60 yards in the air, trying to
there were some bombs. He was throwing some bombs. And to be honest with you, Diggs should have caught at least 2 of them, man.
Diggs should have caught the one in the end zone. He should have caught the one on the sideline.
Ah, man,
but you know what?
Passes.
But he didn't need to. You had your timeouts. You had 4 minutes to go. You had 4 minutes. Even if you grind the goddamn clock out, like, you don't have to do what you did. You had timeouts. You run the damn ball. You set up. And if you want to get Bass closer and then kick the field goal, fine. But you get closer, you don't have to chuck the ball 60 yards in the air. It's a more manageable throw. And maybe they catch the ball. Maybe Shakir will catch it. Maybe
Z, I think everything you're saying sounds great. But Z, honestly, tell me that if they were to do what you said, grind it down, score, get up with a couple minutes left on the clock, you really believe that Pat Mahomes is going to get the ball and go down there and win the game? This is a guy that came back being down 30 seconds, if you remember. It
only took him 13 seconds.
13 seconds. Yeah.
It took him 13.
Yeah. So that was my whole thing watching that game. I knew pretty early on. I'm going to the AFC Championship game, so I actually started planning my trip in the second quarter because I saw enough where you're not gonna put them down. They're gonna keep coming. And you have no answer. You can't stop them, and they can't stop you. But guess what? They're going to get the ball last, and they're going to beat you. I wrote down some stats here. The Chiefs were averaging, before kneel downs, the Chiefs were averaging 9 yards per play. Buffalo was averaging 4.7 yards per play. I mean, to me, Josh Allen's gonna be John Elway. He's gonna have these great playoff performances. He might even get to a Super Bowl, 1 or 2 of them, but he's gonna win the last 2 years of his career. That's where we're headed, man. That's it. That's where we're headed. This was the year. There's no Burrow. You got a home game against Mahomes. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill.
This team is not good.
Two is not ready.
Two is not
ready. Now, next year, come on. Next year, it's loaded again. And now you got the kid from Houston who could ball. Lamar's going to be better. Tua's going to be better. Justin Herbert's got a new coach. You got to believe Burrow's going to come back with vengeance. In the 3 years he's played full seasons, he's gone to the AFC Championship game twice. So,
what about the Jags? You think they're going to learn from that?
I think, yeah, sure. The Jags are back. If the Rodgers is healthy, the Jets are. Like, this is the problem. Like, this was your moment. This was your opportunity. How does it get better? What is gonna change on your roster or next year that's gonna put you in a better position than this year? There's nothing. You're gonna be on the road next year. You get another playoff game. You're getting a home playoff game next year. And the other question I have for you is the Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes rivalry? Is that the new rivalry? Is this the new Brady Peyton? Is this the best rivalry in the National Football League right now?
Well, let's think about this. For a while there, Brady Manning was very one-sided. It's very, 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 very one-sided. So,
the regular season was a little more even. The regular season was a little bit more even.
But it's exactly what I was telling. You know what? The Colts did exactly what we accused the Dolphins of. They ran it up. Right? They were that kind of team. But when it got cold, that's when shit started to go south. When they needed to run the ball, they couldn't. Even with Edgerrin James, even with Joseph Haddad, it wasn't there. So they need to figure out, James Cook, they seem to have something there. Right? They need to trust it.
I will say that I think if Gabe Davis played, it might have been a little different. Because I think he gets one or two of those deep shots. He does, I think so. But there's nothing that tells me that you're going to stop nothing tells me that you're going to stop Patrick Mahomes. You've proved that in the regular season you can beat him. But come playoff time, you're, I think, 0-4 now.
And you can't tell me that having Matt Milano and having Trey White would have mattered that much.
Yeah,
not that much.
I think all that it would have done, I think, would have been a lower scoring game. Maybe it's not 27-24. Maybe it's 16-21. Maybe it's something like that. Like, that's all it's going to do. It's just going to even it out. And this was a flawless game. This isn't and this is the problem. It's like you're talking about, okay, we're blaming it on scheme. We're saying, okay, they should have run the ball more. But you couldn't have asked more from Josh Allen. You couldn't have asked more from I'll even go to bat for them a little bit. You couldn't ask more for them from their defense. They did what they were trying to do. There was a scheme involved, and they were like, we're going to take this away from them, and they did.
They did exactly what they should have done, right? They out total yards. Right? Granted, it was only by 7 yards.
Right.
But still, you outgained them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You outrushed them. You out third down efficiency them. They were 50%. Chiefs were 20%. Time of possession. The Buffalo Bills had 15 more minutes of time of possession.
Crazy. You that's what I'm saying. Like, you're saying they should have grinded it out. They did. They held the ball. They did hold the ball.
No,
when you're giving up,
what I'm saying,
8-9 yards per play.
No, but when it came crunch time, when they needed to stick to the plan, they start chucking the ball. Like,
yeah.
No, that's not what you do.
You're right. You're 100% right.
You stick with what's working, and Sean McDermott, like, this is starting to follow him, right?
Yeah. And should they go? Maybe they should talk to Bill Belichick.
I don't know.
But we're talking about sticking to the scheme, and one team that stuck to the scheme over the weekend, and that was the Green Bay Packers. The 49ers did get by. They did beat the Packers to reach the NFC Championship game over the weekend, but it took 4 quarters and about 14 minutes to get control of that game. It was wet. It was rainy. Brock Purdy was not efficient early, but closed the game 7 for 8 on a fourth quarter drive that put his team in the lead. Now, Z, was this close game due to the weather and, maybe the 49ers having a week off, or did the Packers come to play?
It's a combination of both. The Packers are riding the high of being the Dallas Cowboys, of being the only 7 seed to win and advance to the next round. The Niners did have that week off. They did start preparing in the second quarter of the Dallas game, like Coach Shanahan did.
Yeah.
Losing Deebo Samuel is definitely an issue, but that's starting to come around again, right? We're always concerned about when the San Francisco 49ers are going to get their injuries. And they always seem to happen at the worst possible time.
Mm-hmm.
So, they have Jennings at least. So they were plugging in Jennings where they would plug in Deebo with the jet sweeps and the running backs out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to make that work. So Juwan Jennings definitely, they may have something there. Ayuk didn't have the best of games, but I got to say that the Packers definitely outkicked their coverage this year. Like, neither one of us expect them to be good. We expect you expected Jordan Love to take the lead, and he did.
Yeah,
and he did. 21-34, 194, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah.
Now that gut buster at the end of the game, where he's jumping, he's doing the Derek Jeter.
No, he's doing the Brett Favre, man.
Yeah.
That's what they do in Green Bay.
Yeah. So there's definitely a Green Bay quarterback playbook.
I mean, the missed field goal really took the wind out of their sails.
But he's been missing field goals and extra points all year.
Yeah.
So I mean, I
LaFleur said he just would pray to God every time he went out there. That's not a lot of confidence. I mean, I don't know, that's great confidence, but
exactly.
It's not what you want to do every time your hitter goes out there. But good. I mean, I wanted it to go. I really wanted to go Green Bay's way because, I mean, that's another team where they were gashing them on the ground. And they stuck with it. Like, we're gonna keep running the ball. You guys have all these pass rushers out here. You're all ready to defend the pass. We're gonna run the ball. We're gonna get 56 yards on a carry. Like, we're gonna run the ball down your damn throat, and then we're gonna pass it to people that are running wide open down the field.
But you know what? Like, when it came down to it, they gave the Niners enough daylight that they were able to squeak through. And that's what good teams need. That is what separates the good teams from the okay teams and the okay teams from the mediocre teams. How do you take advantage of what the other team gives you? Now, Brock Purdy did what he needed to do. And again, he's maligned for it. Like, I don't, it's ridiculous to me at this point how much they want to kick this man and make him, somehow less than. He's in his second consecutive NFC title game. So I don't care if he was on the 85 Bears. I don't care if he was on, the 0-16 Lions. I don't care. We need to start putting some respect on this guy's name. He's doing it, right? He's getting them there, and he is one of the reasons for it. He isn't going to be remembered in the same light like a Mark Sanchez. He's not going to be remembered for turning around, handing the ball off. Yes, that's a part of it. Because he has Christian friggin' McCaffrey. You would be stupid if you didn't hand the ball off. But when they need a throw, he makes the throw. It's not sexy. It's effective.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal with that whole situation. I mean, I think I sent you this stat in real time. Kyle Shanahan's 1-30 when down by 5 points or more in the fourth quarter. His first victory was this past weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I got to say about that.
Here. Like, that definitely, it's definitely something that weighs on you, for sure.
That's all I got to say about that.
This team plays from ahead, right? That's most good teams do. Most good teams want to
Well,
get it.
I think,
But now they demonstrate they can do it.
well, here's the deal. It's like they took advantage of a bad Panthers owner getting Christian McCaffrey. They really lucked out with Brock Purdy. They took advantage of a Redskins team or a Commanders team that was selling and got Chase Young.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're loaded. They're loaded. And it took you all 4 quarters to beat a team that didn't really belong in the playoffs. I mean, yeah, Green Bay got there, but they didn't belong there. I mean, I know they beat Dallas, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, they're a 7 seed. They didn't belong in the playoffs. 5 years ago, they wouldn't have made the playoffs, So, and I think San Francisco is going to luck out again this weekend because they're playing the Detroit Lions, who, in my opinion, you're going up against a rah-rah coach, and Kyle Shanahan is an X's and O's guy. So I don't know if the better team won over the weekend. I think the better team executed when it mattered the most over the weekend. Like, Green Bay misses the field goal, Brock Purdy comes down, is 7 for 8, scores the touchdown, wins the game.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna reference Tom Brady. You give Brady an inch, he's gonna bust through. Like, that's
apparently the 49ers reached out to in the offseason to see if he wanted to come and play for them, and he turned them down. How crazy would that have been?
That's ridiculous.
And the only reason he turned him down was because his friends just threw him a retirement party, and he felt bad going back and playing after they threw him a retirement party. But wow, could you imagine that? Brock Purdy would have just been a backup this year.
That would have been something. That definitely would have been something. But, I mean, kudos to the Niners. Like, they did what they were supposed to
fuck
do.
The Niners. Fuck the Niners and their nepotism. I don't like that shit. He's there because who his dad is. And yeah, he did do his time and being an assistant and everything like that. But still.
He's not Arthur Smith, man. I mean, come on. It's not like it's Arthur Smith. So this guy actually, yes, he was born to football royalty, but he did put in the time. Like, look at that coaching tree, by the way. You have Shanahan. You have McVay. You have McDaniel. You have LaFleur. Like, you have LaFleur. Like, all those guys were on the Redskins roster.
under Jay Gruden, right?
Under Mike Shanahan.
Oh.
Under Mike Shanahan. I think Jay Gruden might have been there as the OC. So they might have all been they all might have been underlings for Jay Gruden. So it's crazy. Like, that's the new coaching tree to watch, man.
Oh God! Please don't even go there.
But since we're going there, you already referenced them. Let's talk about those Lions. The Detroit Lions were able to advance to the NFC Championship game to take on said 49ers after they beat the Bucs 31-23. If the Lions make it to the Super Bowl, does that discredit Matthew Stafford's time in Detroit?
Big time. Because I would argue that Stafford had better talent when he was there. Like, he had Calvin Johnson. He had Nate Burleson. I think those were better teams than what he's playing on now. And Goff has been there, 5 minutes? I can't believe Goff has been in the league for 8 years. You believe that?
I believe it.
He's been in the league for 8 years.
Well, that first year was kind of lost because Jeff Fisher hated him. So it's one of those things that, we'll play can you throw the ball? No? Too bad.
The other best part about this is, like, if Goff is able to get to the Super Bowl with Detroit, I mean, they'll love him forever. And if he winning a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions is much more valuable than what Stafford did with a loaded team in LA, right?
This is the equivalent of the 2016 Cubs. He never has to buy a meal in Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
Never. No drinks, no meals, no nothing. Jared Goff is golden. Dan Campbell is golden. These guys are legends. Absolute legends.
And the thing is like, they kind of casted him out. And it was all because he didn't fit what McVay was trying to do. Meanwhile, McVay just got to a Super Bowl with him.
He couldn't have been that much of a misfit.
No.
Right?
He's good enough for Detroit, man. Yeah. He's good enough for Detroit. And granted, listen, Stafford still went to LA and won the Super Bowl. But we even talked about it back then. Like, you could have won that Super Bowl with Jared Goff. It's not like you couldn't have won it with Jared Goff. I mean, there's nothing that Stafford's slinging out there that Goff can't do.
No.
And maybe
Stafford has a slightly stronger arm.
Well, maybe Stafford runs your plays better, but he's not head and shoulders above Goff as a quarterback or as an athlete or as a player. So that's my only thing is just like, you could have just, I mean, you basically, if Detroit wins, you basically just swapped Super Bowls, right? You made this trade, you both won, but I think if Goff stayed in LA, LA still wins. If Stafford stays in Detroit, they don't win. Like, this Detroit team would not win with Matthew Stafford.
No, and I think at some point Matthew Stafford would have ended up with the Falcons. But he would have gone home. So as far as, invalidating or discrediting Matthew Stafford's time, I mean,
it will, Z, because they're not gonna talk about Stafford anymore. They're always gonna talk about Jared Goff,
and they won't talk about the trade anymore because it wouldn't be who won the trade, right? No. Because everybody won. That's an old-fashioned football trade. Everybody wins. Right. Now, who got set up long term? Who got set up for the better? Oh,
Detroit.
Easily Detroit.
Yeah.
Easily Detroit. They got Gibbs. They got Laporta. They got Jameson Williams. They were able to draft Aiden Hutchinson. Like, they did all right for themselves. 100%. They did all right for themselves. And that's a kudos to the organization. They finally put their head on straight, and they started doing that under Martin Mayhew when they drafted Matthew Stafford. Right when they. Well,
I think what happened is they finally hit on their draft picks, and they have a coach that has them looking forward and not looking behind them. And I think that was big because there were some low points in the season. They dropped a couple of games, and he kept them looking forward. And they think the turning point was when they went to Dallas and got robbed because they should have beat Dallas. That was their game. That was their game. And listen, they beat a good Bucs team. The Bucs team was in it. Another team. It came down to the last drive.
The Bucs were game.
Yeah, and Baker love threw the pick, but they were in it. And that's all you want to be is you want a chance. You want a chance to win a championship.
Are you in need of air care maintenance or service? I have the company for you. Air Care Technicians. They service the Westchester and Northern Bronx area and can help you with all your heating and cooling, maintenance, and service needs. Just give them a call at 914-315-1547. Again, that's 914-315-1547. Or shoot them an email at aircaretechnicians@gmail.com. These guys are the real deal as they are veteran-owned, licensed, and insured. Make sure to tell them that D&Z sent you.
But in Milwaukee, you need more than just a chance to win the championship to keep your job. So the Milwaukee Bucks were not satisfied with being in second place in the Eastern Conference with a little less than half the season to go. So they fired first-year head coach Adrian Griffin yesterday. And today they hired Doc Rivers to, I guess, right the ship of the second-place team. So it's a weird question, but I guess can Doc Rivers move the team into first place? I guess because that's the only thing that's lacking here, and maybe compete for a championship this year.
I'm sorry. Did I miss something?
You did. I don't know. I mean, how did the conversation go? Like, you call him, right? You call him into your office. And he's, heading up there. He's like, hey, what's going on? He's like, yeah, you're doing a great job. The team's in second place, and we've only got 13 losses. But we're going to have to let you go. It's like, I'm sorry. Can you say that into my good ear? Yeah, what? We're going to have to let you go. We just thought we'd be a little bit better at this point in the season. That much better. We're in second place. Yeah, I know. But I thought, we're kind of lacking on the defensive front. It's like, you traded my best defensive player in the offseason, Drew Holiday.
Bingo.
Yeah, but we brought in Dame Lillard, and he's supposed to be scoring more and closing out games. It's just like, I am totally. Are you sure? Is this really happening? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Is this an episode of Scanners? Like, what the fuck is going on here? No. Yeah, we're moving on. We're actually gonna go with someone we've been consulting with all season long. We're gonna try to get him in here and try to right the ship. Right the ship. We have the same record as the defending champions, the Denver Nuggets in the West.
So I just said,
are they righting their ship? Are they firing their coach?
Let me take a 20 here. So you're staging a coup, and you're bringing in Doc Rivers.
I served you this on a platter.
Like, what are you? It's a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke.
So the only thing I think is, is there a sexual allegation that's going to come out? There has to be more to this story. You can't tell me that the players are quitting on this guy. And how could that be? I mean, what was he supposed to do? Like, what is he not doing? They got half the season left. He's a first-year coach. If you didn't want him, why'd you hire him? Why didn't you hire Doc Rivers in the offseason?
Why did you fire Mike Budenholzer?
Yeah, I think that was all because the players, I think, didn't wanted him out. I think so. They weren't happy with the scheme. And that's the other thing. Happy with this guy From what I understand, if I remember correctly, like earlier in the year, Adrian Griffin was trying to get them to play more of like an aggressive style defense, a lot of like what the Raptors do. And then they had a players only meeting, and they asked if they can go back to like dropping Lopez and switching on ball screens. And he's like, all right, I guess we could. And then that lands you like 27th in the league in defense. And I don't know what you're expecting. And then, Giannis, I'm starting to lose a little respect for this guy, because apparently he wouldn't sign his extension in the offseason until the team made a move. And their move was they went and got Dame Lillard. It's just like, getting Dame Lillard, that was the answer? Like, I mean, Dame doesn't play defense. He doesn't even run back on defense.
Nope.
And yeah, he hits big time shots at the end of the game. I'm not taking that away from him. He'll get you 25 to 30 points a game. But I mean, we talked about this when the trade was made. Did you need Dame Lillard? Is he going to put you over the top? Is he going to help you beat the Celtics? Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? And then Doc Rivers, in my opinion, the most overrated coach ever in professional basketball, gets another team with like 2 or 3 Hall of Famers on it. And I don't think he's going to win. Like, he has, I'm pretty sure he's lost the most series. He's lost the most playoff series as a head coach. And he's lost the most games after being up 3-1 in a series. This is the guy we're turning to? This is the guy that's going to, quote unquote, turn it around? Like, what are we talking about right now? He just got booted out of Philly because he couldn't coach James Harden, and then they got rid of James Harden.
It makes absolutely no sense. But what does make sense is that Giannis is at the center of it, right? So he
has to be, right? Like, you think they ran this by him first? Hey, we're gonna go get Doc Rivers. How do you feel about that?
Unless it was his idea. Unless he's a coach killer.
How far away are we from the NBA just not having coaches? Like, how far away are we from getting a team that is run by the players? Because this is what this comes down to. In my opinion, they didn't want to be coached. They didn't want to be, and nobody in the NBA wants to be coached. Nobody wants to play defense. You see the scores every night. It's 115 to 113, 143 to 122. Like, everybody's scoring over 100 points every single game. Where back in the day, if you broke 90, that was a big game. Like if it was like 98, 78, something like that, I was like, wow, it got up there. Like no, and nobody wants to work on defense anymore. It's like you get yours, I'll get mine. Whoever gets the most at the end wins. And I believe that's really the philosophy. It's like we're gonna score more points than you are. That's
in
it.
In a 2-game road trip against the Pistons, they let up a combined 263 points. 263. So they put in. Oh no, they won 141-135, and they won 122-113. That's not sustainable. Not sustainable.
That's crazy. That's crazy. How are you scoring that many points? There's no defense being played. And then when you try to argue with a player, you try to talk about a player and get them to play defense or buy into what you're selling, they're like, I'm not playing for you.
And get this.
The reports are that Giannis has been on the outs with the coach since the play-in tournament when he refused to huddle with the team during timeouts. What the fuck is going on? You can't.
It sounds like there's a Giannis problem.
You can't sit in the huddle and pretend like you're listening, like you give a shit.
The report is the day before they fired Griffin, who was drawing up the play at the end of the game? Giannis.
But this is what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about because that's been happening for like the last 5 or 6 years where players are drawing up the plays in the huddle, not the coaches. So that's what I'm trying to say is like how far away are we from like a Kyrie Irving team not having a coach? I'll come out when I'm tired or when I get X amount of fouls. That's when I'll come out and just playing the game like that. Like I think we're about 5 years away from a team not having a coach, and I think we're about 10 years away from multiple teams not having a coach, player-run teams.
So it wasn't that far off when KD and Kyrie were talking about, like, maybe I'll do it one day.
Because that's the way they feel. That's their real philosophy. That's the way they feel. Kevin Durant, he might take direction once in a while, but he ain't relying on his coach to put him in position to score buckets, to put him in position to block shots. He's doing him. He's all about experiences anyway. You're getting a lot of Giannis, KD. That's the other problem is like you bring in this guy Adrian Griffin. He's a first-year coach. He don't got any rings, and he's gonna come in the huddle and talk to Giannis and talk to all these Bucks players who just won a chip a couple of years ago. It's not gonna happen. Now Phil Jackson walks into the room. It's like, okay, yeah, this guy's won more than me. I'll listen to him. Or Pat Riley walks into the room like, all right, I'll listen. Pat knows what he's talking about. But this was doomed from the start, and I feel bad for Adrian Griffin because he didn't get a fair shake. It was 43 games. Why not let him finish the season? What was the harm? What's the foul? You're in second place. Maybe it gets turned around. Maybe he figures it out. Maybe he talks to you better. How could he lose his job, but the guy who coaches the Orlando Magic and the guy who coaches the Detroit Pistons keeps his job? How does that work?
Because they're in on it. That's the whole thing. They're in on the whole thing. We're gonna suck, and you're a part of it. These guys, the expectation was that they were supposed to take on Boston. They were supposed to be better than Boston. They were supposed to, win the and it's still early.
It's so
That's
early.
the thing. Now, you think back to when LeBron canned David Black. When LeBron canned David Black.
It was around the same thing. It was like 30 and 10, 30 and 11, something like that.
They caught fire with T. Lou and they won. Okay, sure. But that doesn't always happen.
No.
That doesn't always happen.
Bullshit.
And you know what? You're not entitled to this. At the end of the day, Adrian Griffin came here with credibility from the Raptors. He built the defensive core that won them a championship. He was there with Nick Nurse. He was an architect of that defense. So, he's got some credibility there. Now, he needed to cut his teeth as a head coach. My concern is that he never gets another head coaching job.
I don't think he will.
How can you?
You blacklisted this guy with that.
I don't see how you can do that. And how do you fix, let's think about this. Yes, the major issue was getting rid of Drew Holiday. Not so much bringing in Damian Lillard. It was the getting rid of Drew Holiday because your defensive identity was Drew Holiday. How do you replace that guy? How do you do that? Because you need to. Are you calling the Bulls about Alex Caruso? Like, what's your idea? What's your move? Because, Philly's right behind you. Boston's not that far ahead of you. You're still in striking distance of winning the conference. Now, unless, there was no plan. And it's starting to exceedingly seem like there was no plan. Doc was available, Doc was around, and all of a sudden, Doc is a much better option. Why? Because Doc won with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. I'm pretty sure you and I could have won with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce.
For sure.
So, yeah. So, I don't know. Like, to your point, Doc couldn't get it done in Philly. Couldn't get it done with the Clippers. He could not get it done. So I think you're setting yourself up for major league disappointment. But while the Bucks had major league disappointment, it was a ball night on Monday where there were big time games from some big time players. Joel Embiid dropped 70 on the Spurs. Karl Anthony Towns had 62 against the Hornets, and Kevin Durant had 43 against the Bulls. Big deal, little deal, no deal, any of them? Combination? What do you think?
I'm not about it. I'm just not about this version of the NBA. I mean, I think it's embarrassing. Embiid dropping 70 on Wembanyama. Where the fuck were you, dude? You're 7'4". Maybe you weren't playing head-to-head on Joel Embiid every play, but, dude, he had 70 points through 3 quarters. What the fuck? Karl Anthony Towns took it upon himself to just keep scoring even though his team was losing, which is ridiculous. They lose at home to a terrible team. I think they lost to Portland. They lost to the Hornets. Awful. And then Kevin Durant dropping 43 against the Bulls is like, whatever, but, dude, pass the ball? I don't know. Listen, I think I have a different outlook on the NBA than most people do. I'm more into the team basketball aspect. I'm more into defense. Listen, Embiid is a really, really good player. But it's different watching Embiid get his points than watching like Kobe drop 81 in the Garden, right? It's a little different. Watching Shaq dominate on the board, scoring 34, 35 points. 70 points, man? What? Where is everybody? Are we just letting them go take layups? What are we doing? And then 62 for Towns. What good was it? You lost. It's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing. I don't think it's good for the league, all these points being scored. This isn't like football where you're or hockey where we're trying to get scoring up. Scoring dilutes the product. I want to see some block shots. I want to see some defense. This is like an all-star game every other night. So I'm going to say it's no deal. I don't give a shit about it.
No. And not to mention that the Sixers only won by 10. He dropped 70 and they only won by 10.
Yeah. How efficient is that? How fucking efficient is that?
That's terrible. But then you're also looking at, and this kind of exposed to me, and I'm totally with Coach Finch. The Minnesota Timberwolves cannot be trusted because Anthony Edwards, by omission, stated, we were just trying to feed Cat at that point. We were just trying to feed him so he could, run it, so he can run it up. It's absolutely atrocious. It is the epitome of selfish. Epitome. I'm waiting for another guy to pull the Ricky Davis thing where he tries to score on his own basket and gets the rebounds and gets his triple-double. So I'm waiting for that because this is absolutely ridiculous. There's no defense. A lot of defense has been legislated out. It has been. But it is run and gun, heavy on the threes, and, it's just not there. Perimeter defending isn't what it used to be. Interior defending, forget. Outside of, Rudy Gobert and Jokic. But, run them up, fill them in. That's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to get as much scoring in the game as possible because that is what is exciting. That's what they can brand, right? That's what will make the highlights on SportsCenter. That's what will be the TikTok clips. Not a clutch block. Not a key defensive stop. Patrick Beverley is never going to get featured, right? Patrick Beverley is a very good defensive player. He'll get featured for when he has a temper tantrum. The league is all about offense. It's all about the stars, and it doesn't, it just doesn't lend itself to interesting basketball. That's great. It's a skills competition. It really is. It's the All-Star weekend every night. It's not enjoyable to watch. It's completely no deal, right? I would like to see.
I'm with you on that.
I would like to see
70 to 90.
Yeah,
92, 98, 96, 92, 88, 87. Where's the effort?
No. Well, that's it. Defense is all that effort.
Yeah, it is.
And some players would rather cherry pick and wait to get their shit in. And frankly, that doesn't make for entertaining basketball. I would like to have seen how the superstars of a previous generation, not even 2 generations ago, right? I would have liked to have seen how, just even a Tracy McGrady, what would he be in these rules? Dude would be all world. The Tracy McGrady was good, right? Vince Carter was good. Allen Iverson was good. Those guys would have been friggin' next level because there's nothing happening. They had to play through some physicality. They had to play through some effort. You had guys in the league who cared and put their effort in, Bruce Bowen. That guy took pride in his defense and put it on the floor every night. And it just does the game a disservice when you don't, and you just let people blow by you and friggin' olay them, let them go to the basket at will. It just dilutes the product and it devalues the game. Do you love brownies? Of course you love brownies. But you know what's better than a brownie? A delicious, handcrafted, gourmet brownie delivered right to your doorstep. That's what our guys at Sweet Life Brownie Co. offer. Chef Tommy D and the crew offer a dozen delicious delights that you will crave, from the classic OB to Dutch apple to campfire s'mores and many more. Check out their website, sweetlifebrownieco.com, for their Friday brownie drops. At noon, their site goes live and you see what they're making. Since you're there, become a site member and earn points. You earn 50 points just by signing up. Make sure you follow them on Instagram and Facebook too, at sweetlifebrownie_co, for the latest updates and their latest releases and creations. That's sweetlifebrownieco.com. Give them a call, 845-641-3043, and tell them D&Z sent you. That's sweetlifebrownieco.com, 845-641-3043. Sweet Life Brownie Co., because there's always room for a brownie. But rather than devalue the game, baseball has once again honored those that have served it, having elected Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, and Jim Leyland into the Hall of Fame. you have any issues with those guys, or did they get it right?
No, I'm not in on Mauer. I'm not. I think he's a Hall of Famer. Not first ballot though. I was gonna be first ballot with Adrian Beltre. Adrian Beltre is probably a top 10 third baseman all time. Like, I don't see that with Mauer. Mauer now, if I've got this correct, I think it's him, Pudge, and I want to say Johnny Bench are the only first ballot Hall of Fame catchers. Does he really belong in that conversation? I don't know, man. I don't know. And I like Joe Mauer. I was always a Joe Mauer fan. And I'm not even saying he doesn't belong. I'm saying he does, but not first ballot. Like, come on, he's the Hall of Very Good, right? He's a very good player. Like, no rings, right? I think he has 2 or 3 batting titles. But,
3 times.
Okay, 3 times. No championships.
Nope.
Okay. Like, okay, see, hear me out on this. If you're giving me the choice between Joe Mauer and Jorge Posada, I'm gonna take Jorge Posada. Like, if I'm starting a team, yeah. If you're giving me the choice between Joe Mauer or Buster Posey, I'm taking Buster Posey. You know what I mean? Like, I think Brian McCann is up for election next year.
Yep.
Give me the choice between Brian McCann and Joe Mauer. I'm taking Brian McCann. I'm not even thinking twice about it. I like him. It's not like I hate him. Like, there are players I hate. I don't hate Joe Mauer. I actually like Joe Mauer. But, I mean...
But enough about Derek Jeter.
Yeah, that guy. Like, okay, like his numbers are comparable to Campanella, Dickey, Cochran, and Posey, but I'm going to take those 4 guys over Joe Mauer, right? He's comparable to Michael. He's comparable to Michael Young at this age. Michael Young's one of my favorite players, and Michael Young also could play like 7 positions.
Yeah, but is Michael Young a Hall of Famer?
No, in my opinion.
No.
So
I like Michael Young too, but
I love Mike. He was one of my favorite players. I wasn't a Texas fan. I just liked the way he played the game. He was a big dude. He could hit home runs. He could play defense. He's a good player. Now, if Mauer had won an MVP, or if Mauer would have won the World Series, all right, yeah, okay, well, sure, I can get on board with this. But you're not. You're just, like I said. When it comes to the Hall of Fame, I'm very like elite, like all-time player. Meaning you'd have been successful in anytime you'd have played. And he just doesn't do that for me. I'm not taking a lot of Hall of Fame catchers over him, but now he enters that conversation. Like, when you say Campanella, when you say Dickey, when you say Cochran, you're gonna say Joe Mauer, right? And I just think that's wrong. And then it's a disrespect to Beltre, who's head and shoulders better baseball player, like all around baseball player, all around better than Joe Mauer. Now, if you want to say, like, he was the best of his time, okay, yeah, I guess you can get on board with that, but what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything for anybody.
Okay, so I hear you. I definitely hear you. But you're actually, like, the Jorge Posada thing is actually very interesting. I'm looking at the numbers, and Jorge Posada had more homers.
Yeah.
Jorge Posada had a higher OPS.
Yeah.
Jorge Posada had more RBIs. Like, it's very interesting.
But Posada was a better
Silver Slugger, 5-time All-Star.
Yeah.
But Mauer does have the MVP.
Oh, he has one MVP?
He has one. 5-time Silver Slugger, 3-time Gold Glove, 3-time batting champion.
Posada was a switch hitter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Switch hitting power catcher, and Posada's got 3 rings or 4 rings? He's probably got 3 or 4.
He's got his 4. He was on the 09 team.
He got 4 rings. He's played some meaningful games in the postseason. He's beaten teams. He's been a part of it. He's a champion. That's the problem. So now, does Jorge get in? Jorge ain't never gonna get in. Like, that's the problem.
I'm pretty sure
like,
he's off the ballot.
Is Varitek's not in, right?
But see, that was an interesting one. Like, as far as catchers go, who is gonna be the guy? Like Buster Posey, definitely.
100%. That's your model. And granted, Mauer checks a lot of boxes that Posey has, but I think Posey has 3 championships. He's got at least 2. 3. And he might even have an MVP.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. So what are we going to do? We're going to put Joe Mauer next to Buster Posey in the Hall of Fame? How the fuck does that look? We don't got to put people in every year. Just because they're on the ballot, you don't have to put people in every year.
Well, you also don't need to put them in on first ballot.
Right. That's the other thing.
I mean, look at Gary Sheffield. Gary Sheffield was on eligibility.
That's hard. That's hard because he's one of the.
He is a steroid cheat.
He's a steroid guy.
He's a steroid guy, like Clemens, like Bonds.
Right. So that's the
like
problem.
Sosa.
Right.
That's
his
close.
Yeah, that's cute.
A-Rod's at 35%. So
yeah, it's not happening.
These guys are,
That's okay. Like, I'm okay with Sheffield not getting in because of what he did. So that's a wrap. But those guys will wind up getting in when the players vote. So.
Well, think about this one. The Buster Posey comp.
Excuse me.
Mauer's got a better batting average. Posey has a few more home runs. So they both had under 200 home runs for their career.
Wow. That's surprising for Posey.
Mauer had over 100 more ribbies.
Wow.
Actually, close to 200 more ribbies.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
but the eye test, Z. But the eye test. Like if we're starting a team, are you taking Buster Posey? Or you taking Joe Mauer?
I would say Buster Posey.
Okay, you started a team. You taking Jorge Posada or you taking Joe Mauer?
Begrudgingly, I'm taking Jorge Posada.
Okay, you started a team. You're taking Campanella or are you taking Joe Mauer?
I'm going to take Roy Campanella.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? You're going to take all these players over him. Like,
the thing that's eating at us with Mauer is that we watched him, and he was a singles and doubles guy.
But I loved him. I really did.
He was a solid player.
I enjoyed watching him play. I remember watching him play. I loved watching him play. I like those Twins teams. I don't have a beef with him. But he ain't.
He's inoffensive to me. He's absolutely inoffensive, but he's the lightning rod,
hometown guy, right? I'm pretty sure he's from Minnesota.
He's from Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great story, and he's a nice guy. I don't have anything against him. Joe, I love you. I know you listen to the program. But Joe, I don't know. First ballot. I mean, come on, man. Like, seriously?
Yeah. The one to me that's kind of like Joe Mauer definitely like giving the eye test and like, maybe, yeah, right. But Leland, yes. I love Jim Leland. Adrian Beltre, yes. Todd Helton outside of Coors Field was average.
Yeah, that's true.
But you know what? He like Larry Walker, he put together enough of a solid career. 316 lifetime batting average, 359 homers. He's almost 1,400.
But that's another good example. You taking Todd Helton or Joe Mauer? I'm taking Todd Helton.
Yeah.
You're right. You're going to take, right? I'm going to take Todd Helton. You're going to take Joe Mauer or Adrian Beltre. I'm going to take Adrian Beltre. Like, this is the problem. It's just that it was a bad year for him for this to happen. This was not the year for him to get in, right? He should have gotten in a year where like Jimmy Rollins and Scott Rowland, like you could be in that like kind of group, right? That's more your group.
He could have gone in next year when Billy Wagner gets in.
Yeah, you could be right. Yeah, sure. Be with those guys. Or Ben Zobrist.
Oh God, Ben Zobrist.
Or well, I sent you the list of the guys that are up for.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's look at that list. Let's do that right now. Let's do it right now.
That's the group you belong in. Like, come on, man. This is.
Yeah, next year you're looking at Granderson, Felix Hernandez, Adam Jones,
yes,
Ian Kinsler, Russell Martin, Brian McCann,
yes,
Petey,
no,
Hanley Ramirez,
no,
CeCe,
yes,
Ichiro,
yes,
Tulo,
absolutely not,
and Zober.
Fuck no. So I think Felix deserves a shot. Maybe not first ballot, but he should get in. And CC and Ichiro. That's it. Nobody else belongs in. I'm sorry. Justin Pedroia, you had a nice little run. You didn't play long enough. Brian McCann, you're the Hall of Good. You're the Hall of you're not even very good. You're good. And I would still take Brian McCann over fucking Joe Mauer.
Oh my God. No,
I'm taking Hanley Ramirez over Joe Mauer.
And let's not get crazy.
I would take Hanley Ramirez. I think he was a far better shortstop and a better baseball player.
Now, like, let's project a little bit down the road here. Like, next year, those guys come off because they're in. The guys that we mentioned are on. You have Sheffield comes off. Wagner's in his last year on the ballot. He is at 73%, 74%.
So he needs 3%, right?
So he needs about 2%. He needs 1.2% to get there. Okay. Andrew Jones is close. How not that close?
How does Andrew Jones not get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, but fucking Joe Mauer gets in as a first ballot Hall of Famer? Come on, that's ridiculous.
Andrew Jones stayed too long.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
This is true. But he did have one year where he hit like 50 or 60 bombs.
Yeah,
and he was a far better fielder than Joe Mauer. I know Joe Mauer's a catcher, but like superior fielder. You know,
agreed. He was one of the best center fielders I've ever seen.
Ever.
You know, he hung on to him. He went to the Rangers.
Yeah.
He went to the Yankees. Like, he just kind of like lingered, and he became like this. No. He became a fourth outfielder. Like Joe Mauer had a 14-year career, and then he was gone.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know, you look down the pipe here, like A-Rod and Manny or A-Rod and Manny. You got Chase Utley. You got Omar Vizquel, Bobby Abreu.
Omar Vizquel?
If Bill Mazeroski's in, Omar Vizquel is in. Omar Vizquel is a better defensive player than him. Probably the only defensive shortstop I've seen that's better than Omar Vizquel was Ozzie.
Yeah, Ozzie. And Cal. Cal was good.
And Cal. Barry Larkin was very good.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, the two that I've seen that were great, truly great with the glove, Vizquel and Ozzie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then you're looking into the Jimmy Rollinses, the Mark Burleys,
no.
Torrey Hunter,
no,
and David Wright.
No.
I'm a Met fan. David Wright's
absolutely not.
No.
Like, you could be in the Hall of Very Good. We could open up a building across the street.
David Wright can be in the inaugural class with Don Mattingly and Keith Hernandez.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I mean,
we just need a new building. We need to open up a new building. We have to open up a building. It's called the Elite Athletes or something like that, where we're just putting the greatest players. You know, none of this garbage of, like, you know, the Brett Favres of the world. Like, none of that. We don't need any of that nonsense in here. We want Tom. We want Joe. We want no, I'm not even say that guy's name, but we want the elite players in the Hall of Fame.
You wanted to say Peyton.
No,
No,
it wasn't. No.
No, but I understand what you're saying. It has been diluted in recent years. It's hard to disagree. It's absolutely hard to disagree.
Because it's all a money grab. It's all a money grab. It's all, you know, supporting people's foundations, being accessible to people, you know, being nice to the reporters so that they vote for you. Like, that's what it's become. And it's just okay not to vote for people. Like, next year, there are only 3 people that should get votes. If anybody else gets votes, it's bullshit. Like, you can't be voting for Dustin Pedroia over fucking Ichiro. You can't be voting for Hanley Ramirez over, who's the other guy I said? Over CC Sabathia. Like, you can't do that, okay? There's only 3 guys. There's really only 2 guys, but you can make an argument for Felix Hernandez. It's 2 guys. It's CC and Ichiro. That's it, guys. That's it.
Completely. We're in complete agreement. Now, if you want to round it out with Wagner, I'm fine with that. If you want to put Andrew Jones in, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Carlos
Beltran.
I'll listen to you on Carlos Beltran.
You know what the Beltran thing is? I didn't realize this. He was on one of the Astros championship teams. I didn't realize that.
He was the ringleader of the cheating.
Yeah, I thought he was a coach on that team. I thought he was a coach. I didn't know he was a player. He was a player.
he and Alex Cora cooked up the scheme.
Yeah. So I'm okay with that though, because if he had that one playoff series where the one playoff postseason where he just was on fire. He batted like over 400, and they didn't win that year, but he was amazing.
The first go around with the Astros,
and then he won a championship. I mean, he's got the numbers to support it, and he had longevity. He played for a really long time, I can get on board with Beltran. I can get on board with it.
Whereas Andrew Jones didn't overstay his Andrew Jones overstayed his welcome. Carlos Beltran was still effective well into his late 30s.
I think Andrew Jones gets the nod because of the 50 home run season and elite fielder, elite center fielder, like better than Jim Edmonds, better than like Griffey, like just amazing fielder.
He absolutely, he should get better consideration than he did. But there's a lot of guys that, you would think that would get a better look. But what really kills him is 254 lifetime batting average. That's pretty bad.
Ugh.
But he does have 434 home runs. He has like triple the amount of home runs that Joe Mauer had.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry I keep coming back to this. But 10-time Gold Glover, 434 homers, almost 1,300 ribbies.
10-time Gold Glover. Wow.
But it took Jim Cott how many years? Jim Cott was a 16-time Gold Glover. Like defense. Who cares about defense? Who gives defense? Who gives a shit? But you know what? Like going to Cooperstown for my birthday last year, it was really it was nice to go through that hall, and it was good to kind of reflect upon that. And I got to see the recent additions, and some of them just didn't fit. And it's the ones that we lived through, I think, are the ones that are the head scratchers to us. We're starting to get into that frame in our lives. So I think that you're absolutely right. It's going to be, the history of the game will be told through the players committees, where these guys are going to, the A-Rods and the Mannies, and they're all going to get their time in the sun, whether, deserving or not. They're eventually going to get their due. If Harold Baines can be in the Hall of Fame, then pretty much anybody can be in the Hall of Fame. Because, Harold Baines only, he was a hitter, and he was an average hitter at best, a below average hitter at most of the time. So, overall, Pandora's box is open. So, Joe Mauer, welcome to Cooperstown. Next time I go there, I will look at your bust, and I will give the respect given by the BBWAA, because, you're there. Do I think so? Not really. But, hey, you're there. So, respect is due.
Avoid messy accidents. Get better stopping power with your brake pads. Callahan brake pads. You never know when you'll be driving in the road and there will be a truck tire that you need to avoid and save your family. Callahan Auto. We really care about what's under your hood.
The choice is yours. Swipe left or swipe right.
All right, boys and girls, especially my online dating fans, we have a statement, and you swipe left, swipe right. You swipe left or swipe right on court storming in college sports.
I'm swiping right. I'm fine with it. I think the athletes need to be more. This all comes up because of what happened to Caitlin Clark, who, when Iowa lost to OSU over the weekend, the court got stormed and she got blindsided by a fan who was running onto the courts. I mean, I'm sorry that happened to her, but I think as an athlete, you have to understand the ramifications of the event, and you have to understand that that's a possibility. It's hard to stop all those people from storming a court, running onto a field, what have you. I've been to a game where the court was stormed. I didn't storm the court, but when you're a young college kid or even a big fan, it's something you would want to take part in. You want to say you were there and you did it. And I'm okay with it. I just think there probably needs to be more safety involved. There needs to be more of a heads up, more heads on a swivel, and just understanding. But I do think it's good for college sports.
I'm going to swipe left for the safety concerns, like you mentioned. Like it's a major issue. It's a liability. It's a problem. You know, like I get excitement, I get exuberance. I understand. You know, I sympathize really. You know, you knocked off Caitlin Clark, you knocked off Iowa. Like, good. You know, Ohio State, good for you. But you put not only the athletes at risk, you put yourselves at risk. You put people that aren't storming the court at risk. You put the other team at risk. You put security guards at risk. Is the juice worth the squeeze just to say that you ran on the court just to celebrate what turns out to be a meaningless regular season victory? It's one of many, right? Yeah, you knocked off a number one team. That's fine. That's wonderful. Now, thankfully, nobody was seriously injured. It only takes one time. It only takes one time. And it only takes one fan with malicious intent to really do some damage. Right? That's the other thing. It's like you have the exuberant people who are celebrating, and then you have the ne'er-do-wells who just want to start some shit. They exist, you know, like these people are around. So let's not pretend that everybody is altruistic, and let's not pretend that everybody wants to celebrate. Because not everybody does, man. Some people just want to watch the world burn. And some people just want to, you know, do something for the sake of doing something. And that puts a lot of people in harm's way. Swipe left or swipe right. Number 2, the Miami Heat acquiring Terry Rozier for Kyle Lowry and a first-round pick from Charlotte.
I mean, you've got to swipe right on that, right? Especially when you look at what the Bucks gave up to get Damian Lillard. They got Terry Rozier for a ham sandwich, man. Terry Rozier, we could argue that he is not maybe a better version of Dame Lillard, but he's pretty damn good. You're telling me that the Bucks wouldn't compete at a high level with Terry Rozier? This is the move that the Heat needed to make. They are definitely in the fold now for a championship, and I'm looking forward to watching Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier play together.
I'm swiping right. I'm swiping right on this too. Like, it was always I always scratched my head when Terry Rozier left Boston.
Yeah.
To go to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna get paired with Gordon Hayward.
Yeah. Yeah. They had plans. It didn't work out, but
plans didn't work out. You know, but the one thing about Terry Rozier is that he's a scorer.
Yeah, good player.
He's a really good player. Slightly more. I mean, they're
Louisville
in terms of career points.
Louisville. Where you go?
Yeah,
Louisville.
I think so. Louisville, yeah.
Louisville,
yeah. But when you're looking at it, career-wise, they're eerily similar, right? You're looking at 14.1 for Rozier, 14.4 for Kyle Lowry, 4.3 rebounds for Kyle Lowry, 3.9 for Rozier. Where Kyle Lowry really stands out is 6.2 assists compared to 3.6 assists. Now, granted, this year they're up. The points, the assists are up for Rozier, 6.6, and he's averaging 23 points a game. So strike while the iron's hot on this. He's the scorer that you need at this time, whereas Kyle Lowry is averaging 8.2 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the Heat gave up about 25% of what they were ready to give up for Dame. They got to keep Jaquez. They got to keep their other first-round picks.
Mhm.
Rozier's going to give them 80% of the offensive production that Dame would, and he's going to play defense. He's definitely a better defender.
And it's going to be a win-win for Charlotte, too, because they're not
In the
keeping
long run,
Kyle
sure.
Lowry.
Yeah, in the long
They're
run,
not
sure.
keeping
But,
Kyle Lowry.
right.
There's absolutely no reason for them
He
to
should
keep
probably
Kyle
go to
Lowry.
LA. He should probably go to LA.
That would be, that makes sense.
Or go to Milwaukee, where he plays defense. Kyle Lowry plays defense.
So that would, and he's a point guard. Like that
Or
would
the
be
Knicks.
a good.
Knicks would be
The-
smart to get him.
The Knicks would be interesting. I mean, they're trying to move Emmanuel quickly out, so I find that very interesting. They already gave up. They already
really?
moved on.
How quickly did leave already? He's still there. Yeah, quickly.
Quentin Grimes.
I was about to say, quickly's on the Raptors already.
Yeah, Quentin Grimes is the one that they wanted to move out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're trying to move him to the West Coast. So, like, why not replace him with Kyle Lowry and, really jump in on this and make it a win-now situation? You made the move with Anunoby. It looks like you're keeping Julius Randle. So, I don't know. I mean, having Kyle Lowry as a defensive point guard wouldn't be a bad fit. It definitely wouldn't be. I mean, that is more of a Laker move. I think you're on to something there with that, or they could just buy him out. That's the other thing. Like the Hornets could always buy him out, and I think that there are options there. And the moral of the story is that it was a win-win trade in terms of the player and the first-round pick. Kyle Lowry is kind of irrelevant here, but they just need to facilitate the move. Rozier gives Miami what they need. Charlotte gets the pick, and everybody wins because Lowry is eventually going to end up on a contender. It's a win, win, win. Swipe right.
Your favorite podcast has its own merch line now. Go to the Fade Store with DNZ.com today for all your Fade Route merch needs. I'm talking tank tops, t-shirts, sweatshirts, like yoga pants, we got those too. Like some cool accessories, we got those too. And we're not done yet. We have so much more planned for you, but check out what we have today at the Fade Store with DNZ.com. That's the Fade Store with DNZ.com. The Fade Store presents the Alleged Superstar of the Week Award.
All right, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's time for the Alleged Superstar of the Week. You know how it goes. We put up a poll on our X account at FadeRouteDNZ, and you vote. And you vote, and you vote, and you vote. And the winner of said vote gets a shout out on this here show and takes home the coveted ass trophy. And do you know who took home the coveted ass trophy last week, Dean?
I don't.
The Eagles. Well deserved. Well deserved. And who knows? Maybe they'll be on it again for stuff they've been doing this week. But we'll see. We'll see. That was last week. This is this week. Who are your nominees? D.
All right, first up, I've got Von Miller, Buffalo defensive player. Played in 12 regular season games and 2 playoff games. He had 5 tackles the entire year. I'm not stuttering. I'm not mistaking you. He had 5 tackles the entire year, and 2 of those tackles came on Sunday. He's a $23.7 million cap hit next year. What do you think Buffalo should do? Von Miller, you are my alleged superstar of the week. Number 2, Victor Wembanyama. You're 7'4", and you let Joel Embiid drop 70 on you and your team. I know if you might not be defending him every play, but don't let somebody like that do that to you. Do better, man. Just do better. And number 3, Karl Anthony Towns. You dropped 62 points on Monday night, but lost at home to the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets only have like 10 wins all year. Gotta stop worrying about you and remember we play to win the game. Karl Anthony Towns, you are my alleged superstar for the week. Z, what do you got?
WWHED. What would Herman Edwards do? Oh my God. Well, we play to pad stats. Hello? We play to pad stats.
Hello?
So I'm starting
the game.
You're damn right we do. We play to win the game.
Damn it.
That's why they keep score. So we can determine the winner. Oh my God. I'm gonna start with Sports Illustrated. Mass layoffs, chaos, Authentic Brands sent Arena Group the letter terminating Sports Illustrated's license last Thursday. And even before then, it was getting bad over there. Allegations and proof of AI written articles.
Wow.
Yeah. So Sports Illustrated's been spiraling for a while, and it's finally gone. It's finally over. But with a name, with a brand like Sports Illustrated, you expected to go out with some kind of bang, and instead you go out with this whimper. At this point, like, you're getting the swimsuit issue? Is that really it?
That's crazy.
Like, growing up, it was, the baseball phone, the football phone. You used to get your news from Sports Illustrated. It used to be, revered in the industry. People used to, speak about working there with pride. And now it seems like lately they've only been speaking about their time there with embarrassment. Sports Illustrated, you are my alleged superstar of the week. The New York Jets. They can't get away. We can't get away from them. They can't get away from us. Firing your running back coach after the season where your running back was the best offensive weapon you had. Call me crazy, but that's crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous that you would fire the guy that got that performance out of Breece Hall. And why? Because he is not Aaron Rodgers' hand-picked guy? Because he's not Nathaniel Hackett? Earth to the Jets. You are in for a major rude awakening next year when Mr. Rogers comes back to the neighborhood and his buddy Nate installs this magical offense. You are not going to have the season you think you're going to have next year. You keep Breece Hall happy. Run the damn rock. You keep his coach. New York Jets, you are my alleged superstar of the week. And then, last but not least, I kind of gave it away already. Philadelphia Eagles having a multi-hour meeting, a multi-hour sit-down with Coach Sirianni, which resulted in the termination of Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator, the former offensive coordinator who was demoted, and I really don't know what he was doing after they demoted him. He was just kind of there, Sean Desai, and then defensive play caller, Matt Patricia, who wasn't the defensive coordinator because Yeah. I don't know what the hell's going on under Sirianni. But this I know for sure. The one guy who did not get fired was Nick Sirianni, which is surprising. He must have done a lot of... must have been a lot of soft pedaling and a lot of butt kissing in that meeting. There had to be. I'll fire anybody you want. I will fire the guy who puts the cheese on the nachos if it means I get to keep my job. What looked to be a very stable franchise, what looked to be a model, right? Kind of like fuck them picks. This was a model that we were looking at. It's crumbling before our eyes. And one has to wonder how long Nick Sirianni will be in the good graces of Howie Roseman, or will they call Pete Carroll? Will they call Bill Belichick? Will they call Frank Reich? I know he was interviewing for their offensive coordinator position. Why not just have him take the whole thing? Philadelphia Eagles, get your shit together. You are my alleged superstar of the week. I think we've said our piece. Go to our X account at FadeRouteDNZ and vote, and vote, and vote, and vote. And for our nominees.
Just do better, boys. Just do better.
This has been the Fade Route with DNZ. Thanks for tuning in. Catch our podcast on Wednesday nights on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. So until next time, stay faded, everyone.
Time for us to run the go route. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of our podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Rate us 5 stars, leave us a review, turn on subscription notifications, and tell your friends. Spread the word, spread it wide.